Okay. Are we still doing music in the background?
Hey everyone, thank you for coming.
Okay. So it is.
Just take a
Scroll
seat.
that
We'll get
screen
started
up.
shortly.
Great. Can you send me the link to this live stream?
Okay.
Fantastic.
All right.
I assume that'll work.
It's looking better if it's this way, just for me.
Yep. Set it up however you need to. And are you're just gonna put it here? I assume so it's not on your lap.
Yeah.
And how does that camera? We will make it public,
Okay.
and then, like, as soon as you're ready, hit that scene swap button,
Okay.
and you're probably fine.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
Visibility.
Public.
Done. Save. We should be live.
Okay. We're about to find out.
Okay, then I'll turn my computer. Oh.
We're not connected to anybody else's audio, so you have to have at least one audio on.
Okay. Wait, then. That up as well.
Yeah.
Okay. Wait. I need only one, right?
Yeah.
So
You could maybe have.
let's hide this one and computer for.
Yeah.
Actually, since computer is. Let's Control Z it.
Hit the unhide all.
Okay. We'll take the hide the computer.
Yeah. Leave.
Mic.
Leave that.
For both.
You're probably
Okay.
good for there. Okay. Great.
Wait. Angle's good.
Sure. Fantastic. Wonderful. Okay, cool. We don't have a fun name for this,
Okay.
so let's call that.
Should we do the title of what this thing's called? Like
Yeah, vice
Wig-
president. Yeah,
Wig slash.
we're gonna call it USG
Okay.
Vice Presidential Debate, and we're gonna spell debate correctly.
Let's do it.
Sorry. Okay. We're gonna see if that helped.
You filled out your entry survey? Make sure to do that.
Okay. We have the appropriate title, and now I just want to make sure that I can hear it.
Nice to meet you.
It's taking a minute to load.
Good.
I think
Okay.
we're set.
I'm gonna put do not disturb on.
That's probably a great call there.
Once they start mixing, stay there.
You got this. Do you need me for anything else?
I think that's it. All right.
I'm so out of here. We tried so hard. What did I do wrong? Oh no, this is
Is this spot reserved for people? Or does somebody just ask me it's reserved?
This slot is reserved.
I mean, they can sit.
Maybe you should sit here.
need more chairs.
We do need more chairs.
Actually, the other thing I would do right now is maybe turn the volume off. All right, go video team.
Yeah.
There's no one that
We can just sing it along with this live stream. So this is the start. I can be.
Yeah, I was like, wait, what?
And I haven't felt like you can't come back.
Also, I know this is like such a simple thing, but I just kind of got like, it like made me laugh at the first time I decided back on like Adobe Illustrator or whatever and changed all of the president and vice president.
Yes, that's what
I'm sure it took me like 5 minutes, but like.
I was like, they ate that as well. Maybe it's
I don't waste time.
We should give them
That's all waste
like because if everyone's signing in and getting food.
Yeah.
I know, I hate to say it, but I want
not going to help you. I didn't wear heels. I was like, I don't want to wear heels.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the 2024 USG. Take your time in getting your food, make it ready to your seats. If you guys are already seated, please take this time to sign into this event. This event counts towards WIC Cloud membership in good standing. If you guys do not have a sticky note, please let our pollster at the front know and pick up a sticky note. This will be used for entry and exit polling throughout the debate. Thank you. We will probably get started in a couple of minutes once people find their seats. Thank you.
Someone sitting there.
You can sit as a side. Oh, yeah. You can sit as a side. Just take out.
No, I want to show them about
Wow.
Wait, what do you mean? Do you like it? Oh, really? Yeah.
I love all the love you showed.
Oh, it was so good. It was so fast too. You had that done like mere minutes after. Oh, I was so pleased. How are you guys doing? Good.
We're actually really hungry.
So why not get some? I'm 74. I don't know what number they're at, but I'm 74. Oh no, am I in front of the live stream?
It's not on the camera yet.
Oh, okay. Gotcha. Oh,
But when they start, then
this is so exciting.
You cut your hair, JJ?
Hi. How are you? Hello.
I like your haircut.
Oh, wonderful. How are you, JJ?
I'm good.
Fantastic.
Are you?
I'm cold. Very cold.
This is so much fancier than last year.
Oh yeah.
This is crazy.
And
It's like
there's
official.
also a lot of people here. Like there's so many people here.
People like drama.
True, true.
How do we start more drama?
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'm sure the food also helps.
The food may have helped a little bit.
Yeah, that's true. There's more food. It's Steven. Why is he hiding in the back?
And not waving at you.
No. Hi, Steven. Where are you sitting?
I don't know. Can I sit with you, JJ?
You're not sitting there?
I don't know.
It's free.
If they get
He told us no more forks. No more forks. Is that our problem? No.
Can we do me a favor? Can we go to the basement and get the massive box of forks? Or you go to the basement and grab the massive box of forks. It's in the lounge. It's in the
Hello everyone and welcome again to the 2024 Wig Clio Prince Vice Presidential Debate. Alright, so I know a lot of you are still getting food. Please continue to stay in your lines, but just quietly make your way to your seat so you don't disturb the debate. But we are going to get started. Okay, so first I'm going to run over some of the debate rules. Candidates. The moderators at the front will be asking all of you questions. Please wait until you are recognized to speak. You will be recognized by raising your hand, and we will call your name so that you can speak. Once you are recognized, you have 45 seconds to answer the question. We will indicate how much time you have left by using the gavel. We will tap the gavel once when you have 5 seconds remaining, and continuously tap the gavel once your time is exhausted. You may also raise your hand to respond to another candidate, in which case you will have a total of 15 seconds to make your response. Candidates are not allowed to talk over one another, and you may not talk when you are not recognized. For the audience, this is a Wig Clio tradition. So when you agree with something that a candidate has said, please tap, like this. And when you disagree, you can hiss at the candidates, like this. Beautiful. All right, so we will now be making our way down to the bottom where we will introduce the moderators and our wonderful candidates. Please give everyone here a big round of applause. Oh, and if you haven't already signed in, please do so.
All right, hello everyone. My name is Daniel Shaw. I am the president of the Senate here at WIDCLIA, where I run the Society's public-facing debate forum. Thank you for the hisses. Okay, with me here from the wonderful Daily Princetonian is my co-moderator for the first half of the round.
Hi, my name is Kalina Blake, and I'm the managing editor of the Daily Princetonian.
And with us here from the American WIDCLIA Slavic Society.
I'm Koa Sands, and I'm the vice chair of the USG Debate Planning Committee.
And I'm Annie Rupertus, associate news editor of the Daily
Alrighty, well, clock is ticking. Let's get started. Our first question for all of you, which we will answer in the order of Shrista, and then Chase, and then Warren. All of you will have 1 minute. Oh, my apologies. You all have 1 minute to introduce yourself, which is rather important. So we'll go in the order of Shrista, and then Chase, and then Warren. Each of you have 1 minute to make an opening statement. Your time begins when you begin.
Our mics aren't working. Should I just like, just yell?
Yes, all of us don't have mics. This university has a lot of money, but not enough money to fix our mics. So all of us are going to have to project tonight. Wonderful.
Good evening, attendees. My name is Shrista Tripathi. I'm a current junior at Princeton. I'm a SPIA major on the pre-medical track. So if I had to describe my USG journey, I would say that coming into Princeton, I felt like a good luck candidate. I came from a first-generation background. I was a low-income student. I didn't think that my presence at Princeton was anything more than just luck. But when I joined USG for the first time in freshman year as a member of the academics committee, that all changed. I saw advocacy at its finest, but also I saw difficult conversations. I saw a lot of sacrifices being made by students, sacrifices being made by faculty, and I felt very intimidated by this all. I wasn't sure what we actually could achieve. And moving forward, I wasn't sure whether or not I wanted to stay in USG, mostly because I didn't know if we could actually make change. But that all changed as the year went on. With the minors program continuing to evolve, with us being able to have these conversations until they became fruitful, I was able to use these motivations to look forward and keep channeling that spirit as I wanted to uplift students and communities. Thank you.
All right, Chase, you have 1 minute to introduce yourself.
Hello, everyone. My name is Chase Magnano, and I'm a junior at Princeton University. I'm excited to bring a fresh perspective to USG, but along with a wide breadth of campus experiences. From representing Princeton on Orange Key, to serving on the Campus and Community Affairs USG Task Force, to representing the Students of Economics Department as their liaison. I've had a wide experience of services and experiences serving our students that have brought me to where I am today. I'm incredibly passionate about Princeton, but I also know there's a lot that we can be doing better. My platform is centered around a community-forward approach. I'm focused on a set of achievable, realistic goals that will improve your everyday quality of life. Some of the things I'm most excited to talk about: I want to bring pay with points and late meals to upperclassmen. I want to adjust our academic calendar so that your finals don't fall so close to the end of December. Thank you so much for having me here today. I'm excited to talk a little bit more tonight.
Thank you. Now, Warren, you have 1 minute to introduce yourself.
My name is Warren Shepard, and I'm a freshman from Rockefeller College and prospective economics major. My candidacy is not merely about promises. It's about tangible, achievable goals rooted in improving student welfare and engagement. If elected as your vice president, I will work in conjunction with USG and the school to, 1, expand the scope of the dining point system to include more businesses with an emphasis on including the Wawa station and including upperclassmen among the recipients. I will also shift the academic year a week earlier to ensure that all students and faculty can fully enjoy the Christmas season. And lastly, I will work with dining services and eating clubs to find an option for eating club members to eat during the academic breaks. I thank you for your vote.
All right, thank you very much. So, those of you that have been here for some time know that the role of the vice president has evolved over the years. Different administrations have different styles of vice presidents. We want to ask all of you here tonight what you think the role of the USG vice president should be. How would you shape that office? We will go from this side to this side. And all of you have 1 minute to respond. Sorry, 45 seconds to respond. My bad.
Well, I think the definition of the vice president's role is very important. It presides over the Senate and it acts as an assistant to the president. And I think it is the workhorse of the USG because it is a really good conjunction between those 2 points. I really think that it's a great opportunity, a great spot to actually make action occur. And that is why I'm running for it, because I think that's where I can get the most work actually done.
After 2 years on USG and 1 year leading USG, I can confidently say that it's really important to know your team. Not only is it really important to know your team, but it's really important to be able to support your team. And throughout my time at USG, I've understood how to actually make change happen. I see the role as vice president as somewhat of a facilitator, someone who understands what change needs to happen and how it needs to happen, and they're able to motivate that change within their team. You pick your team wisely, you gather the people you have, you understand the strengths that they have and how to work with them, and you're able to channel actionable change. For me, the role of vice president is equally as important as all others, and it presides as one where they lead and motivate others. Thank you.
I want to start by saying that we wouldn't have a vice president without a president, and I'd like to congratulate Avi on his presidency here tonight. However, when defining the actual role of vice president, it's critical that the first thing is to serve the president, and to serve the agenda that will be set there. But secondly, to be a liaison to the people. While the president is concerned, making sure that the high-level affairs are taken care of, setting the agenda and making sure it comes through. The vice president is the person that needs to make sure that the people are understanding what's happening and that the president is actually doing what needs to be done on campus. That they're making sure that the people who, what they need is being represented in USG. And that is where vice president is the most successful.
Thank you, candidates. As you know, this debate is taking place in a historical time on our campus where we have a presumptive president-elect. Warren and Chase, your opponent is running on a joint campaign with the presumptive USG president, Avi Attar. If elected, how would you work with the president? We'll both give you 45 seconds to respond, beginning with Chase.
Thank you, Kalina. I've had the pleasure of knowing Avi since I was a freshman here at Princeton. And while we are not on the same ticket, I can't say that I'm anything less than thrilled to have him as our USG president. I think that his narrative and his goals and his experience are going to be incredible when working together, hopefully, in the coming year. As his vice president, I'm looking to align my platform with his, but also bring in some of my ideas that might not be present on his platform right now. I think the combination of our two ideas with an experienced USG representative as president and someone who's coming in, not from the outside, with some USG experience, but from a pretty fresh perspective, ready to bring some change into USG and make a difference where I can. Thank you.
I think this is actually a feature, not a flaw in my candidacy. I think that it's important to have dissent among the administration. I think it helps for a better path forward for the university. Obviously, I would easily work in conjunction with Avi. I look forward to doing so, but I'm not afraid to bring my own ideas to the platform. But yeah, I mean, I would listen to him, he would listen to me, and we would plan a path forward for Princeton.
And Trista, we also want to give you the opportunity to respond and say, what do you see as the strengths and weaknesses of being on a joint platform with Avi?
Absolutely. So I would say me and Avi had a very lengthy discussion when it came to aligning with each other in what we wanted USG to look like. A lot of that was talking about our team, talking about the kind of leaders we hope to be, not just like Chase said, to be a liaison, but simultaneously to be a person who's a member of a team, someone who's able to guide their team in a certain way, able to motivate team members. And so for me personally, I feel like it's been very beneficial to hear his perspective and hear how his side, he's coming from a lot of the social committee, the undergrad student life committee, and I'm coming from the academic side. We were able to put our two heads together and understand how to make a very cohesive, very holistic approach for students, rather than only focusing on what we thought was important in the first place.
Thank you. Vice presidents in the past have sometimes been more or less aligned with their presidents. What aspects, candidates, of the presumptive president-elect Attar's platform do you support And what, if anything, would you amend about that platform? We'll go in the opposite order this time. Chase, then Tristan, then Warren.
Thank you. I think the thing that I'm most aligned with on presumptive President-elect Attar's platform would be the deep need for fostering community on campus. One of the things that I'm the most pressed on in my campaign is the desire to grow opportunities for intersectional community amongst our undergraduates. Not just among your immediate friends, the people you're immediately involved with, but with all undergraduates. And the things that I think we all enjoy as underclassmen and have continued to enjoy, but to a lesser degree as we go through the university. So I'm very excited, if given the opportunity, to help promote that aspect of Avi's platform. I think, luckily, we haven't had too many main areas of disagreement so far, and so I look forward to hopefully finding some if we work together.
So for me personally, me and Avi were able to focus our campaign on three major things: advocacy, inclusion, and community. The most important part of all of this is that we felt that it represented what students needed the most. And I feel like I do stand very strongly with our ideas of uplifting student voices, being able to provide a strong sense of community for upperclassmen and underclassmen, students of all backgrounds to come together and feel like they're part of the campus, but also to feel like students have a voice. One of the most critical things that we discussed was that oftentimes USG focuses itself as the only representative, but we want students to feel like they're a representative in themselves, that they have a voice and what they actually care about does matter on an individual level. In terms of things that we can work on, there's definitely a few. We can definitely work on channeling ourselves into how to handle expansion of student body issues a little bit more, how to understand how to handle disciplinary proceedings more, but there's room for that.
Yes, I agree with Chase. I really like how Avi is putting a focus on improving campus culture. And I really do believe there's a lot of potential on this campus to really make everyone proud to be a Tiger. And I definitely catch glimpses of that as I go about this campus. I would like to focus more on issues that really directly affect students, such as just the tangible issues of mail processing at Frisk, wondering where and when we're going to have a mail package in the locker, dining points available to everyone, and just certain actual realizable goals like that. Thank you.
Thank you, David. So now we're going to spend some time talking about the previous USG administration you served on. What would you say are the biggest strengths and weaknesses of the current USG administration? We'll begin with Warren.
Yes, so I have gotten a great perspective of all the points of the USG administration, especially how it treats first years on their arrival to campus. I think that it has really done a good job at welcoming us and just really allowing us to participate in events on campus and really get involved from the very start. We came in the early days of the Paul Points or pay with points system, and I would like to expand on that. I would also like to work on the progress that this administration has made on getting students off campus and into Nassau downtown more. But yeah, I really like what this administration has done.
As academics chair, I had the honor of serving under Maddie and Steven's very wonderful administration. During that time, we did do a lot of focusing on community. We were a very ambitious group of students. We would focus on channeling our strengths. The committees ranged from social life to mental health to academics. We were able to push forward every single proposal that moved through us. And each time we faced a hurdle, I feel like this administration was able to understand how we could best evolve the issues that we needed to until they reached a point of solution. I do think it was really crucial that Stephen and Maddie were so motivated also to make sure that we were on the same path as what students wanted. There was no point in time at which our interests and our desires took over the students, and I want to continue that aspect. I think student voices are what matter the most. Thank you.
Thank you for that. And some of my favorite aspects of Stephen and Maddie's administration have been their ability to prioritize and initiate pay with points, to prioritize mental health amongst the student body, and then of course to really make the first genuine effect of bringing back the campus pub we've seen in years. I think these are critical aspects that will affect all students every day, and again, go to this sense of fostering more and more intersectional community on our campus. One thing that I wouldn't say they've completely cast aside, but one thing I would love to continue to see more of in our future USG administrations is an effect on disciplinary and honor code reform to make sure that students undergoing these processes are treated with fairness and respect at all times.
Thank you, Chase. Speaking of that campus pub, President Daniels, who I believe is in this audience, has made the campus pub an important part of his administration's goals. Trista and Chase, you both have made implementing the campus pub a core part of your platform. Warren, the campus pub here has been a broadly popular idea. Why are you the best candidate to bring this plan to fruition? And we'll go in that order: Trista, Chase, and then Warren.
Sure. I will say that I thankfully have been able to get obvious support in terms of understanding the build up until this point for the campus pub and plans moving forward. Mostly we've been able to discuss meetings with faculty, how to understand what faculty need us to provide them with to have this campus pub implemented, what students want to see in the pub, what it looked like when it existed, what is important to know about changes that might have to happen for it to be something that's actually meaningful for students. And I think for us, looking forward, things that we might need to do are continue these campus conversations, specifically with the deans who are on the level of student life, understanding what students would like, so more surveys, being able to understand tangible student data on how they feel about these surveys, and moving forward, having actionable steps until we're able to reach this goal. So being able to take advantage of resources we already have.
I would be the ideal student to continue this pursuit of the campus pub for a variety of reasons. First, starting with the campus pub as a space for all students to exist in a non-exclusionary environment. I liaise regularly with a broad swath of students from all different backgrounds and from all different interests. The campus pub serves at its core as an opportunity for these students to gather together and enjoy a social situation in a scene that really isn't present on our campus right now. I want to continue this pursuit and continue this as your vice president, and this will be critical in the year to come. The other thing is I will work tirelessly at one of the largest roadblocks that we see in our way, which is actually obtaining a liquor license, which is notoriously difficult in the state of New Jersey. I'm excited to continue these challenges in the next year.
Thankfully, I just completed an alcohol EDU earlier this year, so I'm quite prepared for this. I think the idea of a campus pub is, as long as it fully represents the student population, is an important goal that I'd work to achieve. I do think it's important to recognize, however, that many of our students on campus do not drink. And I think we need to make this a place that is open to all people, whether they drink or whether they don't. And so I think we need to keep that in mind when installing the campus pub. But I am willing to do what the people want, and if a campus pub is that, I will do that.
If the audience can refrain from clapping and just use tapping and hissing, that would be great.
So, candidates, for the next section of our debate, we're going to pivot to mental health. This is something that all of you discussed in platforms and have mentioned here tonight. But what we really want to know is what specific issues regarding mental health will you address as vice president? Please be as specific as possible in answers. We'll begin with Chase and then Warren.
Thank you. In terms of mental health, I think that it's going to be most important to come from a both top-down and bottom-up approach. I say a top-down approach because we need to look at the big structural changes that need to happen in order to better serve our students. Things like decreasing CPS wait times, things like increasing the resources offered by CPS, but then also looking at bottom-up approaches, building community, because as we find community, we find support in one another. Things like changing academic deadlines to no longer be allowed over breaks, so that when students go off campus and when you're not in school, it's your choice whether or not you want to work or not. No one's forcing you to stay up till midnight on the Tuesday of fall break. That is your time to relax before you come back to school. Thank you.
Yeah, I agree with Chase, especially on the bottom-up approach. You know, CPS is very important, but I do believe that it's something deeper than that. And I believe that USG can really be a leader in encouraging the student community to really be supportive of each other, to have an open community, and to help people deal with psychological issues. yes, I would also agree that I would work with the administration to improve CPS services and just work on that wholeheartedly.
About a year ago, there was a lot of talk surrounding statements made by a certain faculty at Princeton about mental health at Princeton. Princeton's a very difficult institution. We're aware of that, and students often feel unsupported. But it's not all students that feel unsupported at the same level. There's students who are underrepresented, there's students that are first generation, there's students who have various aspects that influence their student lifestyle that cause them to feel unsupported at all times. It's really crucial that we understand which people, which groups are already continuing these mental health efforts and how we can best channel their efforts and support them as USG. The Mental Health Core Committee was initiated this year, and the chair, Noah, and I have had many discussions about academics at Princeton and how academic-specific issues can result in mental health crises. I'd like to work on the academic side as well as working on resources that we already provide and how to better.
Thank you. Now, every year in the election cycles, including in this one, mental health is a big ticket issue. Almost every campaign talks about it. But what we would like to know from all of you candidates is how specifically you would address these issues. Tell us in as much detail as possible what your plan is and how feasible it is through the resources at hand in USG. We will go in the order of Warren and then Trista and then Chase.
Yes, thank you. I don't believe that relaxing academic standards is a solution to this problem, but which might not be a popular view. But we all got here, and I would say most of us got here. I know I got here without ever really dealing with many psychological issues, mental issues, and which may be a special case, but I think that there's a way to face this problem and still keep our academic rigor up, and yeah.
Unfortunately, I wasn't that student. I was the opposite. I was a student that came in with huge academic dreams. I knew what I wanted to do. I knew who I was. I knew what my goals were. And coming into Princeton, academics are difficult. This social life is tough. You have a lot of pressures on you, and that only increases as you go through the years. It was very critical for me to understand, as academics chair, how the people actually felt. Understanding that students feel pressure from assessments, understanding that students feel pressure from stigma related to mental health, related to finances related to mental health. There's a lot of actionable change. If we're able to decrease costs for mental health over time, if we're able to allow for assessments to be levied in a way that students feel that is not going to challenge them in a negative manner, and if we're also able to create relationships with faculty and pre-existing mental health resources to the point where students feel like they're surrounded by mental health resources, we can make change.
To dive in a little bit deeper into some of the programs I talked about before. First of all, reducing waiting times for McCosh. When you have an issue that you are going to McCosh or CPS, specifically CPS in this matter, for, you need that to be addressed right now. You don't need to be told, come back in 2 weeks when we've got time for you. Everything moves so fast here that this time is critical and very important. In addition, I want to look at more $0 changes. What are things that we can do that can be implemented tomorrow without a lofty budget to accomplish? Things like changing the academic calendar so that you're not leaving so close to the end of December when there are so many other things going on in many of our lives. Things like reforming the disciplinary process so that when you have an issue to be taken care of, you are given full treatment and full respect from that. Thank you.
You have 15 seconds to respond.
In response to the idea that moving the academic calendar might help with student issues, I do want to refer to consistent conversations that have occurred in terms of it's not as possible as we think to move the academic calendar earlier, unfortunately due to faculty, but also thinking about CPS, the wait times, what does that mean? Which staff are we going to be able to navigate, and how do we do that without a budget?
Thank you, and that brings us to halftime. We'll be switching out the moderators. Give us one moment, and that will be better.
I didn't know
I'm dying. I have like 2 sips left. There's one in the first one, and literally a single
Yeah. 20 seconds. They're less than 30
Or is it like one response? Yeah, that's all. Wait, sorry, say it again.
Well, I believe that my vote is first.
And just so that the audience is aware, for the second half of this debate, we will be extending the time allotted to respond to each other's comments to 30 seconds. So we will.
Alright, we're going to get started with the second half of the debate. Some of you have brought up potential changes to the academic calendar and exam schedule. Could you all talk a little bit more about what changes you would support in this vein and why? We'll start with Chase, then Strista.
Thank you. Strista mentioned that this is a more difficult matter than we can sometimes appreciate. But I also think it's important to look to many of our peer institutions. I think we can all appreciate that a lot of us are hanging out a week, if not 2 or 3 weeks longer than the rest of our friends at the end of the summer, and we're getting back, especially in the fall, a week or 2 weeks or 3 weeks later. While it might be a slightly difficult issue in our infrastructure, this is the kind of thing that is worth looking into because, for one reason, with exams finishing on December 23rd, that is a critical period of 7 days where flights will sometimes 2, 3, 4 times in price. For our student body that comes from so many different places around the world, this is an insurmountable issue for many people, and we need to be considering it more strongly.
Chase brings up an extremely valid point, that the calendar the way it's structured right now is not equitable and also is very different than many of our peer institutions. But oftentimes the faculty, the deans, the staff have their reasons for doing so. If you think about our freshmen, the freshmen that come 2-3 weeks in advance prior to the school year beginning for orientation periods, moving them 1 week earlier and accommodating that with the faculty schedule, with the staff schedule, and the way that the deans have coordinated this semester seems a little bit unlikely. However, I do understand the facet of wanting to have exams be earlier. One thing I will say is that there's currently a final exam revision proposal already submitted by the academics committee and the deans to allow for the exams to be earlier, to be known a lot earlier, and to also allow for them to be balanced throughout that period of time. We don't want students to have exams at every single moment in the world until the end of the winter break. We'd like them to be earlier, and we're making that happen.
Thank you. Yes, so for the academic year, as Chase was saying, I was talking to someone just the other day who was talking about how in previous years there had been snowed-in flights and the university wouldn't let them back to the campus, so they had to spend their Christmas in Newark. And I don't believe at Newark Airport, I don't believe that's exactly the image that our university should be projecting. So I think it's crucial upon this point to shift the academic calendar 1 week back. I came up here as a freshman, I believe it was August 25th, and I was up at college about 2 weeks later than all my counterparts. So I don't know if this is really an impossible goal. Plus, I believe many faculty prefer getting on Christmas break earlier as well.
I just wanted to quickly respond and say that while it would be earlier for certain freshmen to come here, again, this is common at many, many peer institutions too, where their freshmen also come slightly early. Additionally, while it's difficult to move the schedule around, let's not forget that just 4 years ago, Princeton was famous for having exams after winter break, not before. We've made this change now, so we had it before. We can make another change to continue accommodating the needs of our students.
In response to Tristy's comment on the USG proposal, I think we all deal with the problem of the Princeton academic year being the exact same amount of work, but just shoved into less time. And I believe that this proposal, bringing exams earlier, would just shift everything even into more of a time crunch. But if you can expound on that, I'd be glad to hear.
To clarify, the deans are very concerned about the fact that students are leaving campus so late. They're also really concerned about the fact that students, specifically international students and out-of-state students, don't know when their exams are until very late in the semester. That's a change that we want to see happening, and through this proposal, effectively the idea is that exams are balanced throughout the time period of final exams. Not only that, but students will be aware about when their final exams are very early on compared to when they are now. Flights can be booked much earlier, and that way students are also able to get their exam schedules and exam conflicts accommodated a lot more.
Thank you, candidates. So we'll now move to a very popular issue for this election and past elections, that's dining initiatives. In a daily Princetonian poll conducted last week, we found that over 65% of respondents support the current dining pilot. So how would each of you move forward with the dining pilot and, critically, ensure that all voices on campus are heard? We'll go in reverse order, starting with Laura.
Could you clarify on that question, the dining pilot? I'm sorry,
The upperclassmen dining pilot that allows upperclassmen to take 2 meals a week.
Okay, alright, sorry, I just don't want to confuse it with anything else. Yeah, I believe that this initiative is a good initiative. I think that it's important to be more with our upperclassmen dealing with the intricacies of eating club and meal exchange and on their own issues. I believe that this is an important issue to pay attention to. I believe this also ties in, and we could add to that with starting meal exchange earlier in the year, allowing eating club members, again, to eat in dining halls on breaks when the eating clubs are closed. And I think it's very important to pay attention to our upperclassmen and not forget them when looking at dining plans.
That's a great question. So I am an upperclassman. I don't look like one, but I am. And in terms of the meal plans, I think oftentimes it's really important that we understand what the students would like. I think at this current moment, the process that's happening is allowing us to move forward towards pay with points for upperclassmen. It's allowing us to have meal exchange at a more inclusive and earlier level. We also would like to advocate for things like advocating for students in terms of the dining plan, in terms of the student voices. We would like to make sure that students are aware of the dining plan pilot. They're able to take advantage of them. So I think the most crucial steps to take are understanding what the students would like and how they would like the dining pilot to be structured. Understanding their structure and what they have in mind for themselves is going to be the first step towards a journey, and then partnering with the already continuing relationships with the dining staff to understand how we can make this happen.
Thank you. I think that we can all appreciate the amount of campus dialogue the dining pilot has taken up over the last year. And I think the bottom line for what students want on the dining pilot is to simultaneously preserve the communities that we love and bring in more people and make it a more easy process to actually exchange between multiple communities. Something that I'm very passionate about, I want to ensure that we're including independent students and co-op students in the meal exchange system who right now do not have easy access to exchanging meals with their upperclassmen friends. Additionally, I want to redesign and reform meal exchange to be an easier process that doesn't take 5 or 10 minutes at the beginning of any meal to actually bring in your best friend from another eating system. This should be a simple process that encourages us to go outside of our normal circuits. Thank you.
Thank you, candidates. Warren, you specifically mentioned pay with points in your platform and about the expansion of a pay with points system. I'd like you to speak on this now. Other candidates, if you would like to respond, you may.
Yeah, so my expansion of the Pay with Points program would primarily be to just expand the list of businesses to which it applies. Primarily Wawa. I think it's funny that the business that most of the Princeton students frequent is one of the businesses that is non-blessed. And I would like to work to make that one included. I would also like to include the upperclassmen to be included in the pay with points. And I know there are some intricacies in that process, but I would like to work towards that and include all Princeton students in the benefits of that program.
I'll say that I really appreciate you thinking of upperclassmen when it comes to pay with points. I think something that's really important is that pay with points have been so successful for underclassmen. It's really important to kind of rely on that. It's also successful for students who are on financial aid, students who the program was initially designed for. So students who are not able to maybe on their own terms go to Nassau Street and try out the new restaurants in town, but instead using pay with points they're able to do so. So continuing on the success, making it something that's about equity for all students and giving all students the opportunity to have the Princeton Nassau experience, I think it's really important for us to move forward for upperclassmen.
I want to echo the statements from my other candidates. I think that pay with points is one of the single greatest initiatives to come out of USG in certainly my time as an undergraduate. And I want to continue to invest in proven winners. For upperclassmen, this is an opportunity for us to remind ourselves of what it was like when we were underclassmen and could just go out to Small World for a coffee without having to debate of whether or not you want to spend $6 or $7 on a coffee this morning. Make it something easy you can go grab with your friends. I also want to ensure that we continue this program and make it even more robust in coming years.
Speaking a little more broadly, in a Delhi Princetonian poll, we found that more than 75% of respondents support the May 2023 student activities fee increase. All of your platforms support increased engagement with the community through programs like Pay with Points. Could you all raise your hand if you would support a further increase in the student activities fee? Great, and we'll give you all a chance to elaborate on your answers. We'll start with Trista, and then Warren.
The student activities fee increase was something that we debated in USG for quite some time. It was brought up by Walker Penfield, the amazing treasurer, and he had this idea that we wanted to do more for our students, but we didn't have the funds to do so. We looked at peer institutions, we looked at how much they had to spend on their students and how much they were able to give their students accordingly. We saw that Princeton had the lowest student fees out of all institutions, and we wanted to be able to give our students more. But more importantly, we didn't want students who are on financial aid, for students who may not be able to afford this change, to be impacted as such. And hence, we were able to pass a rule through which students on financial aid, students receiving financial support from the university, would not feel the impacts of this increase in the student activity fee, but they would feel the positive impacts of what we're doing with that fee. So it's really critical to understand that even if the fee increase does increase, it would only be because we have genuinely good ideas moving forward.
As for increasing the student activity fee, I think the thing that we need to continue to invest in is our community. Like Trista said, because this does not, and we are lucky that we have the most robust financial aid policy in the country, continue to ensure that our students that cannot or would not want to afford something like this are not unduly affected by it, but then also understanding that for the students that might be paying full price, this represents less than a 0.5% increase in yearly tuition for something that can have such a massively outsized effect on your experience here as a student. So I think that continue to invest in our communities is absolutely critical as we move forward over the coming time. Thank you.
I echo both my candidates' statements. I believe that the return on this investment is greater than the decrease in student funds that it would take. I believe it also helps spread the wealth of Princeton University around. I think it allows students to interact more. I think it will improve our campus culture. And let's just be honest, I mean, these clubs don't grow on trees. You have to have money to fund them. You have to have money to fund these projects. And if we're going to have large goals, we will probably need an activities fees increase. And so I support that because I support these goals.
Thank you. So students consistently have very low trust in the student disciplinary process, particularly the honor code and the committee on discipline. So how would each of you work to reform the student disciplinary process? We'll start with Warren, then Chase, then Joseph.
Yes, I would work to ensure that there's more oversight over the actual investigation process, and I'd also want to really work on initiatives to educate the students more about the differences between honor code disciplinary violations and academic integrity violations. I think there's important distinctions, and I think it's just important to really press the point that mistakes happen, and we are human. And I think that it's important to let the students know that this is not about catching you if you trip up once. It's about promoting a overall campus culture. And I think it's important to highlight that in this administration.
As we look to reform the honor code and our committee on discipline, I think first of all it's critical to continue to look for student input on these matters. What does our student body want to see done, and what can help them the best? Second, looking at the both honor committee and committee on discipline, I think it is very, very critical that we are ensuring we have a high bar of evidence and a continued due process of innocent until proven guilty on matters like these. Students regularly find themselves in situations where they feel like anything they say can and will be used against them without any due evidence or any reason for them being investigated with the ferocity that they are. We need to look for outcomes other than just suspension if you are caught. What are ways that we can continue to build community and help each other through troubling times?
Chase and Warren both bring up a very interesting point. The honor code, the disciplinary committee, all of it's very scary and very confusing. Oftentimes for students, it can mean the end of their Princeton career. Students on financial aid, the current rule as it stands is that students found in violation of disciplinary honor codes may have their financial aid either revoked or reduced, which could mean the end of students' financial aid and the end of their Princeton career. And during my time as academics chair, I had the honor of being a part of the ad hoc committee on disciplinary committees and being able to understand how we can push a memo to make this financial reform more viable and more present within the dean's minds. Furthermore, moving forward, I think it's really crucial, like I said, to understand what the process actually looks like for students to feel transparent and for them to understand that there's also other opportunities out there. Highlighting the work of the peer reps, highlighting other work that students are already doing. It might be helpful for students.
And now returning to a consistent issue for all of these reforms that you've mentioned, within the resources that USG has, how realistic are these proposals? We'll go Chase, Trista, and
I would like to say that I think my proposals are incredibly realistic. Accepting and requiring a higher burden of evidence before we burden our students with procedures that may not be substantiated at all, I think is an incredibly fair and reasonable thing to be asking our administrators. These things come at a huge cost to our mental health, to our even just time in the day that we have to spend dealing with something like this. We need to ensure that if you are being asked, there is a legitimate reason for something that you have violated that they know, and it's not just a preponderance trying to understand whether or not you may or may not have done something. This is something that should be treated with the highest burden of proof. Thank you.
I appreciate the fact that Chase is proposing the ideas of making sure that students are aware of the honor committee and being able to make sure that students feel that the honor code and disciplinary committee proceedings are both transparent and understandable, and also making sure that the honor committee, the one who does serve, the students who serve on that board, they're aware of what their responsibility looks like and they're aware of what kind of penalties are not necessary to deal out. I think it's very important that we bring up the idea of penalties because moving forward, why should students on financial aid be penalized? I think this referendum being passed towards currently it's at the provost makes it very reliable and very possible. And moving forward, being able to depenalize some of the ways that we already conduct the honor committee will allow for students to feel less intimidated and less scared to go about their Princeton career. I think that's very reasonable and very possible to do.
Yes. Yeah, I agree with Trista on a lot of her points there. I believe it's very realistic to, in my proposals, increasing education to new students about the ramifications and the processes and letting them know what their rights are. I think that's a very important thing. I think just as a first-year student, I can tell you that when I came on this campus, I didn't know what an honor code was, and when I heard about it, I was thinking, oh no, if I accidentally look to my left, I'm going to be suspended from university. And it's not like that. And I think it's important to let students know that's not like that. And I think that oversight and education are the two keys to resolving the issues that we have today.
Thank you, candidates. This will be our final question for this section of the debate before we move into audience Q&A. Those of us who have been here for a little while know that referenda have been a contentious part of Princeton's political scene over the past few years. How would you reform the referendum process, if it is to be reformed at all? Let's go, Chase, Trista.
I think the referendum process is a critical one to let the student body voice the issues that they want to be heard the most. And I think the thing that we need to focus on reforming, if at all, is ensuring that when a referendum is passed, there is actionable, an actual outcome taken as a result of that. And so I think that encouraging students to promote their voice, to promote what they believe in, and put this up as a referendum rather than seeing, one or two a year, see a lot, see something that makes you consider, should this be something that we pursue more strongly and becomes kind of in the campus dialogue. And I think that ensuring if this is passed, real tangible impact takes place on campus is critical. Thank you.
I completely agree. I think that referendums are a very critical way of maintaining student democracy, and they allow for students to be able to express their voices, their opinions, and their concerns in a way that's very structured. I do think it's really important that we are able to understand and highlight these referendums in a way that we highlight, for instance, let's say the USG elections. Oftentimes, students are not aware of what these referendums actually stand for beyond people in Frist asking them to sign a petition. People are typically not aware of what the nuances are of these petitions, what the voices are, who is fighting for them. There's a lot more that can be said and a lot more that can be spread. I think the student voice should be highlighted in each and every referendum. And like Chase said, I agree with the idea that referendums, since they are allowing students to exercise their democratic right, should occur more often during the year. Should allow students, why do we allow students to only speak one time a year? Why not more often? Thank you.
Yes, I agree with both of my fellow candidates. I agree that referenda are a very important part of our political system and the student government. I believe that the only issues that I've seen with the referendum process were not with the process itself, but with the execution. And I think it's just important to be clear on what the rules of the referenda are and the processes. But aside from that, I believe referenda is a very important part of the USG, of the Senate and whatnot. And I believe that promotion of it is very important, and we need to let more students know about it.
Alrighty, thank you to all of the candidates for answering the structured portion of this debate. We will now be moving on to the town hall section of this debate, where you, the audience, submit.
I hold my hand up. So
I am so sorry about that. Please go ahead.
Point. 30 seconds. Yeah, no, I just wanted to highlight, while I very much agree with the idea of promoting referendum more, like Trista's plan, I do think that it's important that maybe encouraging 1 or 2 times to vote on referenda a year is good, but I think that also there should be a structured and limited amount of time to vote on referenda every year, just to ensure that certain ones don't slip through the cracks without much publicity. All referenda should be focused on at the same time to ensure that people are actually focusing on them altogether. Thank you.
Any further responses, candidates?
All right, well, just like all the candidates here, we also care about the student voice here on campus. So now, this is the chance for all of you in the audience to submit questions up at this QR code to be answered by the candidates, which we will then read out from the moderator's table up here. So all of you can please take a chance to fill out this form, ask your questions, and our lovely candidates can take a brief break while that happens. Please be back in approximately 3 minutes if you choose.
Sorry, you could have done that. The 8 people watching. The 80? 8 people watching.
I'm dying here. It's like
Alrighty, thank you everyone. I hope you all enjoyed your brief break. If we could ask the candidates to please make their way back up to the podiums, and for the audience to please make their way back to their seats. Thank you. Following the town hall section, we will then end with concluding remarks by the candidates, followed by a Q&A with presidential candidate audience.
I was literally gonna die. Thank you.
So first question from the audience. Princeton housing is remarkably expensive and far above the market rate considering the poor quality of the older buildings. The older dorms lack many basic amenities such as central cooling. Students living in older buildings pay the same price as those living in new, often objectively better housing. How will you, as vice president, address the housing issues and disparity at Princeton?
It's a great question. As a Rockefeller College resident, I dealt with a lot of the heat. Now, I don't think it was bad as other people were saying. I'm from the South, so I can deal with that. But I do think that it's important to pay attention to the living conditions of our students. I think that, especially in upperclassmen housing, we have a lot of residential college problems. Warping of the floors, humidity in basements, stuff that really needs to be addressed, not just for the comfort of the students, but for the actual health and well-being. I worked at a housing development company for 2 years, so I have a lot of experience with that. I can recognize these problems. That's all.
I was struggling in the Forbes Annex in freshman year. And realistically, there was a lot over there that was just not recognized. There would be issues like insects, we would have mold, we would have no AC, people would be struggling with heat strokes and whatnot. And these are issues that would just be simply ignored, especially at the individual level. I think the most critical thing we can do is make sure that student voices are heard in a maximum potential kind of way. So if we're able to have a more streamlined way of students to make housing concerns or complaints and submit these issues directly to the faculty, they're able to understand just how many problems there are and where they lie. I think it's really important to also be able to, as USG, survey these students and understand which residential colleges and which locations have the most issues and how moving forward we can either get them to be renovated to meet the same potential as the others, or how we moving forward can make it a more equitable process.
Thank you. So I too was a Forbesian in the Annex freshman year. Until my sophomore year, I was actually in the inaugural class at Yale College. So I can very much appreciate the difference between these brand new dorms and where I started. And now I'm back in full call with no air conditioning. So it's been a bit of a roller coaster while I've been here, and I can really appreciate the needs of students. One thing that I do think there is to appreciate is Princeton was actually revolutionary about 100 years ago when it changed all of its dorms from being variable pricing to the same price so that students with more money couldn't just buy the nicest dorms and let students that couldn't afford it take the worst ones on campus. So I think there is one sense in appreciating that. But I do think it is time that the university takes a hard look at installing at least some sort of institutionalized cooling system in all dorms across the campus.
Alright. Next question from the audience. Affecting change on USG can be difficult and time consuming. If you could only choose to implement one of the changes you have mentioned, which would it be? In other words, which initiative is your top priority? Srista, Warren, Chase.
That's an amazing question and a really good point. Me and Avi during our discussions have talked countlessly about how much it feels like USG is unapproachable, how much it feels like student voices have to go through so many different routes and pathways until it reaches the right person, and that's simply not fair. From my perspective, I think that student mental health issues that surround us today are the most critical, and I think around mental health there's a lot of parts of that we can tackle. There's academics, there's student experience, there's community building, there's a lot of things we can tackle under this blanket of mental health. So for me personally, I think it's really critical to understand what students need and how they need it, and being able to focus on this crisis would allow us to jet off into other ways as well. I also think it's really important genuinely to enhance USG transparency and make it more possible and more accessible for students to communicate their concerns to the right person without having to go through many routes to do so.
Yes, I believe that's a great goal. For me, it would definitely be the shifting of the academic year because it encompasses so many issues that our students deal with. It encompasses the mental health issue, the affordability issue, and just overall academics issue. I think that this is a attainable goal. I think it benefits not just the students, but the faculty, and it should come at a very low financial cost, and I believe it is a great solution for everybody.
The issue I'm the most passionate about when running for vice president is creating intersectional community on our campus. And as a result of that, if there was only one initiative that I could get through, it would be bringing pay with points and late meal to all upperclassmen. These things are incredible. These are incredible tools creating spaces for all students of all backgrounds, of all financial backgrounds, to enjoy time together, to enjoy time where they can relax, where they can just engage and build community with one another. And also, it's just practically a nice thing that you can experience and use every single day. I think so much of what we spend so much time on, especially in USG, are things that might happen once a year or affect a special edge case. And focusing on the things that actually impact every single day as a student is going to be critical to my platform as vice president.
Thank you, candidates. Another question from the audience. Chase and Srista, you seem to have a lot of the same policy proposals. In what way are you different candidates?
Yeah, sure. So I would like to say, first of all, that I think Srista's brought up a lot of great points. And I think that we do have a lot of similar, there are a lot of similar points, because there are a lot of very pressing issues on this campus that need to be addressed, and I think there's a common campus dialogue on pushing these issues forward. I want to highlight some things that I think Srista and I do fall a little bit differently on, though. One thing that I've been working on, and I do want to focus on, first of all, is our thoughts on changing academic deadlines. I think we do have a little bit of a different, at least approach when it comes to that, and that will be certainly a strong priority in my campaign. Another thing that I'm very interested in, and I haven't mentioned as much tonight, is bringing a basically Apple Pay-based system in lieu of boxes, and this does exist at other peer institutions, so you won't get locked out of your room nearly as much.
And I think Chase is a great candidate. So I think generally speaking, we do have a lot of similar goals, but I think that goes along with, like you're saying, being an upperclassman at Princeton, understanding what students need. For me personally, I've taken the past 2 years to understand what USG looks like, how it functions, how it operates, and what you actually need to take in terms of actual steps to make change happen. How you need to communicate with deans, how you need to understand student perspectives, what is the best way to gather the student perspective. So for me personally, I feel like my methods may be slightly different than Chase's. Furthermore, I think a lot of my platform is focusing on uplifting student voices. A lot of student voices often get covered based off the majority, and I think that's very unfair and something I would like to move forward by changing. Also, I would like to improve the undergraduate experience and also making sure that student health and well-being is a top priority.
Would you like to respond to that?
I would like to, yeah. I think that the biggest difference between me and the other candidates is that my campaign focuses on concrete, achievable, specific goals, not just an overall campaign statement. And I think that's a really important part of my campaign. And I think it really allows this administration to actually achieve impactful, really make an impact on the student community. Because to be honest, in my experience here, it's been all the little things that make this campus special. It's been late meal, it's been pay with points, it's been the overall ability to merge with the campus. Sorry. Thank you.
Thank you, candidates. Our next question from the audience. How would you balance your vice presidential duties with your other commitments on campus? We'll start with Chase and go down this way.
For me, vice president would be, one, an incredible honor to have, and a priority and a responsibility that I would take incredibly seriously. To have the chance to represent all of your voices every single day and be a liaison between every student on this campus and the undergraduate student government and our administration would be something that I would take incredibly seriously. To the point where I would be also willing to take a lesser role in some of my other extracurriculars and lower other roles if this comes through, to ensure that I have the full bandwidth required to execute this role and the duties of this office to their absolute and full extent. Thank you.
I think the vice president role is a very critical one. It's one I don't take lightly, and realistically speaking, I actually was not intending on running at first. Realistically, the reason being, I'm an upperclassman. Senior year is very busy, junior year is very busy. But when I thought about what I wanted to see in USG, when I thought about the change I wanted to make for students, it made it all worth it. And I think realistically for me, USG would be my top priority, and it would take precedent over other extracurriculars I have started in the past, mainly because it's a role that you never stop doing. It's something that even in my other clubs, even in my other representative roles, I would take very seriously, and I would channel, quote, the USG energy, or being able to understand what students need at all times. For me personally, the vice president role is not something that I take on and take off. It's something that I would want to do all the time, every day, every week of every year. Thank you.
Yeah, the vice presidential role would really be an honor to have. I do consider myself a bit of a workhorse, and I think the vice presidency is a good position to fit that description. And I believe that one of the advantages of my campaign is that, one, I'm a first year. That's also one of the things that probably many people consider a disadvantage. But in prior experiences, back in high school, when seniors were part of clubs, they were often distracted by just the really flux of senior year. And I think that would probably be a consideration that you might want to think about. And I think the fresh perspective, understanding how the class of 2027 and future classes would want to see Princeton is an important part of my administration.
Thank you, candidates. We're now going to do a lightning round of questions from the audience. So, first of all, going this way, one sentence answer or less. What is the price of milk? $4 a what?
Yeah.
I'm from Virginia, so it's $3 there.
$4.
Okay. What are your plans on reforming the Whitman Dining Hall?
Get rid of that bubble thing outside it.
I would make the lunch bar accessible at dinner time.
Whitman breakfast is awesome. It has bacon.
What would be your drink of choice at the campus pub?
I don't drink, so probably a nice Coca-Cola.
For legal reasons, I'm 20, so probably a cherry Coca-Cola.
A dirty Shirley. Okay. Thoughts on having a live tiger as a mascot on campus? I'm deeply concerned with animal rights.
I would be worried about how we would feed it.
LSU has one, so we need one.
Candidate Shepard, how do you react to your publicity on Fizz?
Wait, can we get like a
You don't want to know. I believe it would be inappropriate.
Wait, what is
You don't want I would prefer to not be attached with that description. If y'all don't know what it is.
Thank you guys. Thank you everyone for submitting your questions. Before we proceed, this is a reminder for everyone to fill out your exit survey. QR codes are being passed around the room, and if you need a sticky note, you should raise your hand, and my friend Ryan will help you out.
So here is how the rest of this is going to go. We will now move into the concluding statements. Each of the candidates will have 1 minute to make a concluding statement, followed by our town hall our Q&A with President-elect Aviatar. In the order of Warren, and then Chase, and then Tristan.
Yeah, I'd just like to thank y'all all for coming out here tonight, first off. This was a great turnout. I'm glad Princeton students are so civically engaged. But I would be honored to be your vice president for this upcoming administration. I would really focus on actually affecting change that impacts students at a core level. Increasing the scope of pay with points, shifting the academic year, and working with dining services and eating clubs to find an option for those forgotten upperclassmen who cannot find anywhere to eat during the academic breaks. And I'd really take this responsibility seriously, and I would devote a lot of my time to this role. And I thank you for your vote. I thank you for your consideration.
I want to start by saying what an honor it is to be able to be here tonight and to share my views with you all. I know it's a bit of an unorthodox process that led a vice presidential debate to come here tonight, but I'm glad that we've had the opportunity to actually share our platforms and talk with you all. But I was really inspired to run for vice president and become involved with USG. Ever since my freshman year, I've been a member of Orange Key, and I've been on the front lines when people are asking us how we're going to deal with the issues at Princeton, or what all the issues are, or how I deal with them. And that's been inspiring me to get more involved ever since then. As your vice president, I would be focusing on creating intersectional community through tangible and realistic means. Things like expanding pay with points, expanding late meal, things like adjusting our fall semester, things like reviving the campus hub. And additionally, I want to continue pursuing both a top-down and bottom-up mental health approach, fixing the issues and working at the causal level, and also addressing the symptoms. Thank you all so much for your time, and I'm looking forward to conversing more this week.
I will say it's an honor to stand up here with two amazing young men who know exactly what they're talking about, and they have ideas that are different from mine, but I loved hearing about them. Hearing about these ideas just bring me back to my initial point, which was that student voices matter a lot. It's really important to understand how we can bring students together, how we can bring them together without the barriers that we currently face. We talked about pay with points, but moving forward, eating clubs obviously play a pose, making sure that we're understanding how students connect with one another, how we're able to foster that connection and hear their voices, how we're able to advocate for them, and also how we're able to improve their overall undergraduate experience. I came into Princeton with a vision of what Princeton looked like, and I want Princeton to feel that way for every single person that comes in, and for them to not feel disappointed at any point in time. Also, moving forward, being able to understand how we can take advantage of what USG already does, how to organize the team leaders at USG, how to channel the interests and the desires that they all have, until we reach a point where we feel comfortable saying that we've done all that we can to provide Princeton students with the experience that they wanted. Thank you for having me here tonight.
Thank you, and let's give all of our wonderful candidates here a round of applause. Yes, because we have a very special guest here tonight. Thank you, Health.